We're live.
This is Literary Roadhouse. One short story, once a week. I'm Rami.
I'm Anais.
And I'm Gerald.
This week, we're reading a story called The Dinner Party, which was written by Joshua Ferris and nominated by one of our previous guests on the show, Colette Sartour. This story talks about a couple who has invited another couple to a dinner party, hence the title of the short story. After the invited couple doesn't show up and the wife of the couple who invited, this is going on. Can I start?
Yeah, start over.
Okay. I'm just winging it. So, this story talks about a couple who has invited another couple to a dinner party, hence the title of the story. After the couple who was invited doesn't show up, the wife starts to worry, and so her husband goes to check on them, only to find that they were having another party to which the main couple in the story were not invited. The husband returns home, doesn't tell his wife. The wife packs her bags, and the story ends.
Excellent.
Okay. So, what did everyone think of the story, Gerald?
Loved it!
Oh, yeah? I loved it too. Rami?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I thought it was a good story. I wouldn't say I loved it, but it was a good story.
So why didn't you love it? What were the drawbacks? Because I think Gerald and I are just going to be a love fest over here, so let's get some balance.
Yeah. Well, I think I enjoyed the story up until the husband goes to the other couple's apartment to check on them.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, so that part, like, there was a build up there, and I really liked the language and the description, everything. It felt like the husband was just sort of floating around and you know, just as surprised as the reader is, I guess, of everything that's going on. However, when the husband goes to talks, I need to say their names because I think I'm using too many husband wife.
Yeah, but did we ever learn the names of the main?
Yeah. Oh, the main husband? I don't think so. But the other, what was the other couple's name?
I don't think we learned the couple that got pregnant either. We only know about Lauren and Ben. There's so many couples. So
Yeah.
We don't know the people who are hosting. We don't know the people who ghost them and throw another party. So why don't we call them the ghosters? That's the people who didn't show up. And the no, it's too similar. The hosters and the no-shows. So the no-shows are the people who threw their own party, and the hosters is the husband who was supposed to host this with his wife. He's the one that's doing everything from his perspective.
The hostess with the mostess.
Mm-hmm.
Amy is the wife at home.
Yes.
Oh, right. Because the Mrs. No-Show, she says that when Amy married you, I tried to tell her not to or whatever. Yeah. Amy host, anonymous host. Yeah.
Amy and Amy's husband will decide on that, and then Lauren and Ben are the friends, but we don't get the ghosters' names.
Mm-mm.
No.
Okay. All right. So that works. So when Amy's husband has a conversation with the ghost wife ghost?
Mrs. Ghost.
Mrs. Ghost.
This is going so well.
See, now, so I just discovered another problem. It's making it difficult to discuss the story when you have so many.
Yeah, but not difficult to read, right?
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so that conversation I felt sounded very scripted, and it was choppy, and it sounded like a script from what do you call those, like soap operas? It felt like it was in a soap opera. Well, I never liked you anyway, and I could totally see music, like, you know, overly dramatic music, like dropping a bombshell, like dun dun dun.
Yeah,
And then the husband's like, oh, what? How could you say this? You know, and all this stuff. So I felt like I in the beginning, leading up to it, I was very impressed with how realistic the dialogue between the host couple, Amy and her husband, were having, and he was being like kind of snarky and sarcastic, and she was replying wittily as well, and I really liked that interaction. But if you look back to that dialogue between Amy's husband and Mrs. Ghost, it was just this sounds so fake right now.
Okay.
I think that's fair, because I will say one of the things I didn't understand was why Mrs. No-Show, why did they say yes to the dinner party? Like, why wouldn't they make an excuse like, oh, sorry, we can't that day, we made other plans? You know, like, it seems really like aggressive and weird.
Or did they forget?
I don't know if they forgot. I think it had to be intentional. But the thing, even if they had forgotten, like, they're getting all these texts and emails, and at no point, I mean, maybe they hadn't checked it, but I'm just saying, like, it seems strange to me. It seems strangely aggressive. So I will agree with that. Like, that conversation at the end, I don't understand why she was being so aggressive if she's somebody who accepted this dinner party invitation. And she's like, why do you guys even invite us if you don't like us? Why did you accept? Right? Like, there was a little bit, I'll agree that conversation at the end was a bit melodramatic and forced.
Melodramatic, nice.
Yeah. But everything before that I thought was pretty good. Like you were saying, because it, without beating you over the head, very clearly conveyed like what kind of guy this is. And the way that, like, I wonder if, like, Amy changed for him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because the friend's like that now she doesn't even care anymore if she loses Amy as a friend. Like, it's easy to see why people don't really like him too much. Like, it's good to be funny. Snark can be funny. Sarcasm can be funny. But also, if you don't have a balance with that, you're going to rub people the wrong way.
Yeah, I think so. I think... I mean, doesn't that sort of near the end conversation didn't bother me that much. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting how she sort of took him out of the party and outside before she spoke to him. So that it didn't bother me at all. Actually, that one. The other guy is called Scott, by the way. So we've got Scott the ghoster and his wife, and Amy the host. And
well, I like Mr. and Mrs. No-Show though. That one works better than Mr. and Mrs. Ghost. But
okay. So yeah, the dialogue in the rest I thought was beautifully done. So clever. She sort of cares at the beginning, and then sort of doesn't, some throwaway lines, but and I thought there's one point at which it was about 40% of the way through, one point where it suddenly changes and her attitude to him changes, and I thought that was so sharp and like she'd just sort of given up, and you know, but I think she realizes that she's lost her friend, the No-Show.
Yeah, and I think you're right that part of the beauty of that dialogue, so Rami said it felt convincing, and not only that, but also it conveyed so much about their character through pure dialogue, which I thought was really well done. It's not often that you come across where you're like, you get so much about a character just from the things that they're saying. Normally it requires some action, some introspection, some other narrative things, and this one, it's just like, and also like the way he's kind of socially anxious, right? Like, he can't leave her alone. He needs attention all the time. And he just like flutters in there, says something. She quips back. He'll like leave for 2 seconds. And then he's back again. Like, he's so annoying. But it's good. Like, it's good that that's being communicated through this scene without at any point having to reflect on how annoyed she is or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's quite a few bits that I've highlighted with, you know, some great bits. But there's another bit where it's a little bit of information that's dropped in, where she's cooking and he goes to hug her, and it says years earlier they'd had a name for this hug. He couldn't remember what it was. So you get a feeling there for how he's moved, how he's moved on. He sort of cares less about her, and her for him, I think.
I read that differently. I like that line because it resonated very real to me in the sense that, how like in the beginning of a relationship, it's like you're farming inside jokes, and there's all these like little things and little words that you make up that over the course of relationships sort of fade, not because you love each other less necessarily, but because you're falling into a different rhythm. It's like more companionable. Like I've had that experience where I'm like, I kind of vaguely remember like in past long-term relationships, like year one, we had like that. Like I remember we had a word for this. We were being cutesy in the beginning. In the beginning, you're like cutesier. There's more inside jokes. You're funnier. And then as it goes on, you just sort of fall into like a different rhythm, and it's still nice, it's still companionable, but it's I thought that just felt like that's how relationships evolve. That's how I read it.
Well, not with me.
No. No cutesiness for Gerald.
Well, no, there is cutesiness, but I remember it. It's
oh, you remember. It never fades. You never stop saying the word.
Hey, that's me.
Oh, I remember the words stop being said, but it's not because at any point there was a conscious decision not to say it. Just different things come up. There's different, Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah. And part of the other reason why I like that whole like she's cooking and he wants attention is because I've been in those shoes where I'm like hosting a party. It's what happened in Costa Rica a lot. We had like a squad that would get together, and a lot of times I would host and I would do most of the cooking, and my boyfriend at the time would just start roaming around. He'd do like minimal cleaning, like just like surface stuff. He would never do like a deep clean, and then he'd just start roaming and picking at things and just saying stuff. So that felt really real too. Like, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can, sometimes people start pacing in anticipation, and if they feel everything's ready, you just have to find something else to do with your time.
And I thought he was really quite funny because he kept drinking and he kept eating while he was waiting. And I like the bit where he said he'd already eaten, two the hors d'oeuvres and the salad, and he was eating.
But by that time it was like 10 o'clock at night, so it's understandable you're not. And he probably gave up on the meat from being cooked.
Yeah, but it's just strange that he just kept saying to her, "But the meat's still out there. Couldn't he have picked it up and put it in the fridge or something?" It's kind of strange. It's like he had no capability to do anything in the kitchen, nothing to do with the cooking or anything.
I can identify with that because I mean, maybe I would ask before touching or doing anything on my own. I would just ask, should I put the meat away before I just boldly make that move?
That's funny.
And it's funny how he just picks hors d'oeuvres. I feel like my ex would not have just grabbed stuff. He'd always ask because I might get mad. I'd be like, no, these are for the guests. Don't touch it. Or I'd tell him, like, you can have one. You can have two. You're done. Ruin my awesome presentation by putting gaps. But
it seems like it's a boy thing, doesn't it, then? Just
like, don't do
food.
this.
Which is why we all enjoyed that scene and the writing.
Yeah, it felt really real. Like, I've been there. This is definitely behavior that happens. And, the thing is, if you go just on that first scene, you can kind of see why he gets on people's nerves, but you wouldn't be convinced of that people dislike him to the point that they're ghosting their friend. So it wasn't clear, like, why this other couple dislikes him so much, other than the fact that he seems really critical of other people and probably spreads that to Amy. But, like, it's not clear. There's only a hint of it at the party where there's like some hot chick that he and Ben have never seen before. And Ben's like, 10 o'clock, wait, I'm going to move you at your 12 o'clock to see her. And that part's fine. That's a thing. But then when the narrator is talking to, or like his perspective, I don't know if it's the narrator, but if when he's talking to Mrs. No-Show, the first thing he asks is, who's that woman? Like, so that's the first little bit of a taste of like, maybe this is why he's grading on people. Like, it's okay to be like, that person's hot in your head with your bro, but like, you should have a different priority right now that your wife's being badly wounded by her longtime friend who didn't show up to a dinner party, So it's a little bit of like, you start to see the beginning of like, maybe this is why people don't like him. Like he just, yeah, a supremely selfish, critical, sarcastic person.
That's very insightful, because I just thought it was strange that he was fixated on this woman, but it didn't occur to me that this is presented as a reflection of his character, so that we can know more about him. So thank you for that.
But and then the fact that you think it's strange speaks to it, because you're like in that position. It's not like you wouldn't have acknowledged this in your head talking to Ben. It's just all of a sudden, okay, now you're in game mode of like, why did you ghost my wife, right? Like there's a different thing that comes up that's more important.
That's just another sort of another piece of showing about his character, isn't it? What a complete.
And well done by the author. Like that was really, because I feel like if you hadn't had that thing about that woman, the story could very easily have not had that. If you didn't have that, it doesn't feel, you're like, but why do they dislike him this much? Like I get he's kind of sarcastic and critical, but like he didn't seem that bad. You needed a little more to be like, oh, I get it. You know, you needed a little bit more of a push before you're like, why are you being so crabby, Mrs. No-Show?
Yeah, I think the author did really well with that, because at the start they're both being quite snarky and quite critical, both he and his wife. But then she starts to sort of back away from it, and he goes, because he's been drinking, he goes further and suggests tricking the woman when she arrives into taking a shot, even though she's pregnant, and all this sort of stuff. So you can then see the sort of character he is. And yeah, I agree that bit about the woman was just the same, that he that added to his his characterization.
Yeah, he comes off as like very self-centered and someone who's impressed with themselves for their wittiness. You know what I mean? Like he just comes off that way. And I can see where that grades people. Like I feel like we probably all know someone like that. You know? I have someone that comes to mind. Like, oh yeah.
But not
and
on
it's
this
not
podcast.
like they're like, no, not on this podcast. And it's not like, the greatest scumbag. It's not like lock that person up. It's just people don't want to come to your party.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
I also really enjoyed the beginning where they're like, this is going to be so predictable and boring, because I have sometimes had that feeling, and made me reflect a little bit. It's been a while. I've moved recently, but like I've had that where like there'd be like someone, it was never someone I was too close to, but like an acquaintance or someone like the fringe of a group that gets invited to something. It's like, I don't want to get cornered into a conversation with this person because it's going to be dull. And you think about this in advance. So that felt real to me too. Like when you think about an advance, a social thing, and you're like, I can't get cornered by this person, or this person's only ever talks about this one thing. And you're like already thinking about it before people show up. Like I identified with that.
I thought it was brilliant when he was, looking forward. They come in, we take their coats and all that sort of stuff, and they said they hit the streets and talk about us. And she says, "What would you make you happy?" And he just says, "A blowjob." And he said, "Let's wait until they get here for that." I just loved that response. Not a how dare you, or don't be stupid or something. Just let's wait and get until they get here for that. I just thought her responses were brilliant, really, really good.
And she's used to him by now, and she probably somewhat expects him.
Yeah. That's like a thing, like your partner, right? Like a blowjob, yeah. I probably have been like, don't dream so big. Like, keep your goals within reach.
Very good.
What did you make of... oh, you were going to say something, Joe?
No, I was just wondering the gender of the author. It's male.
Male, yeah.
Yeah. What did you make of the ending? Because I was hoping to get some clarification on that from you.
It was kind of strange. I read it several times. Like she's packing and she's...
But she stays. She doesn't leave.
You think?
Yeah. There's that line about how as she's packing, she realizes that what she's doing is a little ridiculous. And then she ends up just crying and he holds her. There's a way in which they're like getting isolated together. And I think she's been thinking about it. Like she knows this is happening. Like there might be a part of her that's like, why am I in this relationship? And then she also kind of feels stuck. And like, because like I said, it's not like he's a scumbag. Like He tried for her sake to lie about it. She just already knew. Somebody must have texted back like, "Oh, weird. You didn't know about the party? Wow." You know.
Oh, so she knew at that point.
Yeah. She knew.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, when she says, you know, why do I have this life? And then it says she cried as if you were not holding her, as if you were not in the room with her, as if you were not in the world at all. Which sort of makes me feel that she was sort of envisaging a life away from him. I think. Maybe.
I think she's maybe regretting the choice to marry him.
Well, but I think when she cried in his arms, I also thought, okay, you know, she's going to stay. But then the description Gerald just wrote about envisioning him not even being there, that might be a hint that it's going to be over soon.
Yeah.
Don't know. It's an ambiguous ending.
Yeah, ambiguous ending.
I don't mind that. I usually get a bit annoyed by ambiguous endings because I like my story to have a nice arc and a nice proper ending. But
Same here.
Yeah, I know. but I think in this case I'm quite happy with it. I think it's kind of weird because this is a slice of life story which I normally get a bit agitated about, and you know, where's the story? But actually, I don't know. There's something about it that I really enjoyed it.
Well, it was thoroughly entertaining, and that's not nothing, right? There's a lot of stories that you're like, oh, it's so smart, but you're not as entertained. It is hard to entertain people when you don't know who they are. To throw something out there and have a wide audience, anyone can read it, and you have people nodding their heads, being like, that was entertaining. Like that in itself is very difficult.
Yeah, and in addition to liking concrete endings, I also, and if Maya was here, she should probably remark on this, I like happy endings as well. And I think the story for me took kind of an unnecessarily dark turn. I mean, I shouldn't say maybe unnecessarily because that's what the author was going for, but up until the point where, again, I think what changed the story for me was as soon as the Scott, his name is the wife's, the inviting couple, the husband of that couple, goes to the no-shows party. Up until that point, I thought it was going to be a twist, but not necessarily a dark twist, where he would see that he was totally wrong about the couple and that they were actually hip and cool, you know, regardless of what he may have previously thought of them. And maybe that attractive girl he noticed was some kind of celebrity or something, and you know, it was going to be more of that sort of twist ending where the what's unexpected is that the couple is actually much more interesting than even the inviting couple.
You know, I had a different thought about the plot twist. I thought they'd be more interesting, not because they have a celebrity. I thought it was a swingers party because it's like, yeah. No, but listen to my thought of the swingers party. There's votive candles everywhere. There's like, is this normal? Like that people put like little romantic candlelight like in the kitchen and like I'm like, is this? I don't do that. Do a candlelight party with a bunch of people. So I'm like, is this like some kind of like, is he walking in on like a swingers thing right now? Is that what this is going to be? Especially since Ben, like the first thing, yeah, especially because the first thing he does is Ben being like, yeah, look at that one. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, wait, is that what this is? That's what I thought.
I didn't have any preconceptions. I just read it as I was going along.
Swingers. Why do you have votive candles everywhere? Doesn't make any sense. The votive candles reflecting off the chrome appliances. Where am I? Why is this happening?
What is a votive candle? Is it the tea light, the little one?
Yeah, the little ones.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. What's going on right now?
It could just be a hipster kind of cool trend.
I mean, I've had candles lit like during a party, like a normal, like a scented one or fragrances or stuff like that, but like not as like the main lighting that, you know what I'm saying? Like the amount of remarking on it made me feel a little like, wait a minute.
Okay. You could be right.
Anyway, I don't think it's a swingers party now. It's just
No.
that's what I thought the twist would be. That's not what I think it was. Just the way that it was set up when he was walking through it, I'm like, wait a minute.
Very good.
Yeah. Also, I like in the beginning when they were like, oh, they have a surprise for us. Oh, I wonder what it can be. And we have to pretend we don't know what it is. That happens. That's happened to me too. People are like, oh, when they're very serious, a couple, and they're like, we need to tell you guys something. We need to meet up for brunch. I'm like, oh, I wonder what it can be.
So that's a good point, because that makes it even stranger that they would intentionally stand them up.
Yeah, it's
they
very
had
weird.
this
Very
conversation.
aggressive. Yeah. It's extremely aggressive. That's why I thought that ending thing, I was like, so you do this thing, you RSVP guests, you say you have an announcement, then at the same night you throw another party, you don't invite them, but you invite his friends, and then when he shows up, you like hiss at him. Very, very aggressive. But not to the point where it makes me not like the story. You know what I mean? Like this is more like a criticism of this character, but the fact that it was drawn this way and I'm this involved still speaks to the talent of the author, right? It's like one of those like, you know, I did think it was a little melodramatic and bizarre, but it doesn't mean that I've never heard of someone in real life doing that. I have. I've known of melodramatic people who hiss at people. It's not impossible, you know? Like it's not like this is unrealistic and drew me out of the story. This happens. So
Yeah, I think so. I think that's why it didn't strike me as being that odd. It's you know, they didn't want them there. They didn't want this guy there. So obviously her first reaction is to get him out of the place, and then tell him straight. So I thought it was in keeping.
yeah.
But I think what bothers me about it is well, I guess normal is also subjective, but it doesn't align or sync with what I guess a normal lifelong friends would do to each other.
Yeah, but she had it at that point because she was like, you know, when he was like, oh, I'm going to go home and tell Amy of this, she's like, yeah, I don't even care.
Yeah, that was a bit harsh.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen stuff like that. I've heard stuff like that. It's not impossible.
Well, that's why I think some of it seems overly scripted, because it could be something you might see again on some kind of soap opera or drama series. Yeah. But so what if, for example, you know, the wife is the one who went to check instead of the husband? You know, what would have been the reaction then? Versus, you know, I think everything just fit in to further the plot that the author was going for. But I don't know if that really aligns with reality.
Every story is the author put in things to move his plot forward. Right?
But the key thing is that it's believable enough that you could follow it and say, yeah, okay, this could actually happen. It's not like this was out of this world fantasy, but it's just overly odd.
I mean, I agree. The fact that they're like, oh, we're gonna have a dinner party and we have a surprise, and then they go to throw a party does seem a little like much, but you know. Yeah, like that part was weird. Like, why did they say yes to the dinner party? So I guess it's not so much it bothered me what she said to him. It just bothered me that she RSVP'd yes. Declared she had an announcement. Like, that's the part where that didn't quite make sense. But it doesn't bother me too much.
No. And I think also another point that when he goes home to Amy, that he doesn't tell her the truth. He hides the truth and tries to protect her. So I suppose it's the author doing this sort of well-rounded guy, or not well-rounded, but he's not all bad, he's not all good. He's a bit of a distasteful character. He's a bit overly sarcastic. He would be annoying to sit with over a dinner, I think. He'd be snarky and commenting all the time. But despite his rather sort of diffident behaviour while she was cooking, I think he loves her, and I think he cares for her. And
yeah, I agree.
So I wanted to protect her from the truth.
But even before he protects her by not telling her the truth, all of his thoughts about her as she's cooking, as she replies, it's like, oh, she says this, that's why I love her. Oh, he goes and he hugs her from behind. Like, he does care about her. He does. He's just an annoying person. We know that. We know those people.
We know those people, yes.
Yeah. And you could be hopeful. The ambiguous ending, maybe the hope here is this makes her think about leaving, but she won't, and they'll go to therapy, and he'll go to therapy alone, and he'll work on his character, and he'll change. That can happen too, right?
He's not going to change.
Yeah,
it's unlikely, but
he thinks he
could.
Funny.
He thinks he's hilarious.
How do you change someone from not being annoying?
It's really hard. They have to want it.
Yeah.
It goes against their nature.
Yeah.
And they have to accept that they're annoying in the first place rather than just witty and edgy and...
He's so smart. So clever.
Yeah, we know those people.
So, anything else to say, or?
I don't think so. No, there's nothing. Just. I just noticed another bit when she was goading him about, what are you going to do? Go over to the apartment, and he says, "What are you going to do about it, big man? Man of steel. Going to get inside the absolute reveal." I thought that's hilarious. Just
use your big man powers. Yeah.
I just thought the absolute mobile. I just thought that's so subtle.
I also like the snark where he's like, they're probably just at a late night showing of Kung Fu Panda. It's like
or Friends on DVD.
Yeah.
Actually, he was quite funny.
he was. That's the thing, is he is kind of funny, but you can see why that grates other people, because people know when you dislike them in that way. And he's judging them for being kind of boring, because he's like, oh, they're probably watching Friends on Netflix, or on DVD. And they turned off all their phones for this because it's like the event, So he's making fun of them for being boring. He thinks they're boring. People know when you think they're boring, usually, sometimes, hopefully. Sometimes they don't, and they corner you, and those are the people that you think about in advance, like I do. I'm like, no.
Whoa. That's a bit deep.
Has never happened to you guys? Like in a big group, like when you're getting past the number 12, there's always one person when everyone's like, not me.
No.
All right. So, yeah. Are we ready to rate?
Sure.
Yeah.
Should I go? I'll start. I'll give it a 5 because of the points I mentioned.
Okay.
Despite the discussion, I'm still going for a 6 because I really loved it. Really, really loved it.
I think I'm coming in 6. Maybe I'm being soft today, but I really liked it. I'd probably recommend it to people. Like if somebody was like, "Oh, that's a good short story," I'd be like, "I read this one, you'll like it." So 6.
Yeah. It's quite an easy. It's an easy story to read, isn't it? It's you don't have to work too hard at it. But there's so many subtle things in the writing that are enjoyable, I think.
Yeah, time flew by. I didn't feel it at all.
No, not at all.
Okay. So, what are we submitting for next week?
Well, I am submitting The Diamond as Big as the Ritz by F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I am submitting Passage by Kevin Jared Hossein. He won the 2018 Commonwealth Short Story Prize, and it's published in Granta. And that's a prize that it's short stories from the Caribbean. So I don't know if the story has anything to do with that, but that was the prize.
Sweet. Okay. For the game, I was really invested in it, maybe overly so, because as you may know, I like to find quizzes that have something to do with the story. And initially I was thinking maybe it could do questions related to parties or relationships, but I couldn't find enough, and also the correct answers, I think, weren't established enough for me to be able to give them. For example, the world's longest married couple. Guinness acknowledges that they are a couple that were married, I think, 86 years. However, on Wikipedia, there are entries from couples, I think, from India who were married longer. So I wouldn't be comfortable enough giving you an answer that may not be correct. Or the world's longest party. Again, I mean, that can change, every year. Or
This is
largest
a really
party.
long prelude to this quiz.
It better be a good quiz after all this.
All right, after all this, if this quiz isn't going to blow our socks off.
Thanks for keeping me in check.
That's right.
Well, no, that's just to say that I just decided to do just random questions, so they're not centered on any specific theme or topic.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to say.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway, please. How many U.S. states border the Gulf of Mexico? 4, 5, or 6?
Who is this for?
Anais.
I don't think Georgia touches. 5?
Correct.
Yes, I just did it in my head.
Good job.
Wow.
Yeah, and I tried to make the questions relevant to people. So I wouldn't have asked you, Gerald, since
Thank
you're
you.
in the UK.
Can't figure it out. Yeah.
But I will ask you, Churchill, Sherman, and Panzer were all types of what? Record players, tanks, or ships?
Tanks.
Oh, you know that. Wow.
Yeah.
I knew that one too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm misunderestimating you. Who said that? Bonus question.
I'm misunderestimating it.
No, just using the word misunderestimate. Coined it, actually.
Oh, coin misunderestimate?
Yeah, because it's
I don't
not
know.
a word. George Bush.
Oh.
Well, really?
Yeah. All right, Anais. What was Aretha Franklin's R.I.P.? Aretha Franklin passed away recently. First #1 hit. Was it Chain of Fools, Spanish Harlem, or Respect?
Chain of Fools?
No, it was Respect.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Respect. Gerald. In which country did Marilyn Monroe die? The United States, the United Kingdom, or France?
I'm pretty sure it's United States.
And you are correct.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and I think that's why there are conspiracy theories that the government killed her off because of her alleged affair with JFK.
Yeah.
If the government killed people off because of affairs, we'd have so many more, mysteriously dead people right now.
With a president, though. With a sitting president.
I think that's a thing.
Let's not go there.
Yeah, I know.
Anais.
I'm just saying. Silly conspiracy. Mm-hmm.
With what did ancient Romans dye their hair? Bird poop, honey, or wine?
Wow.
Does bird poop even stain?
I don't know. I haven't tried.
Wine? What a waste of wine. But I guess wine?
Nope, it was bird poop.
Bird poop stains?
Wow.
Again, I don't know from experience. So.
Well, go find out.
Fascinating facts.
For the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Gerald won, but I'll ask you the last question. What type of animal is a skink? S-K-I-N-K. Is it a cat, a rodent, or a lizard?
A cat. What was the choices again?
Cat, rodent, lizard.
I think it's a rodent, isn't it?
It's a lizard.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Do you want the tiebreaker just for?
Yeah,
giggles?
go on. Yeah.
Okay, fine. And I'll do this in pounds. I'm sorry, Gerald. But how heavy was the world's largest wedding cake?
In honor of
something.
Something. Okay.
200 pounds.
No, more than that. I think it was 350 pounds.
So Gerald's closer, but both of you are way off because it's 15,032 pounds.
What?
And it was made, but I don't think it was actually for a wedding. It was made by chefs at the Mohegan Sun Hotel and Casino in Connecticut, and it was displayed at a bridal show.
Wow.
This is disgusting.
Okay. Yeah, that's insane.
Such waste. All right. So Gerald, what are we reading?
Next week, we shall be reading The Diamond as Big as the Ritz by F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Okay. But before you go, please accept our invitation to a discussion party in the comments section at literaryroadhouse.com. Or if you want to ghost our carefully laid out comments section and join a more fun party, head over to Twitter at Lit Roadhouse or our Facebook group, The Literary Roadhouse Readers. And if you want to surprise us, leave a voice message on our website. We love those. Are you looking to avoid your friend's insufferable spouse? Get lost in a book with the Literary Roadhouse Book Club, where we discuss a full novel every month. And lastly, funding these literary parties adds up. Support our podcasting expenses at patreon.com/literaryroadhouse. Every bit helps. And as always, share this podcast with the person you gossip about as soon as they leave the room. Until next time, read a good story.